to impose VAT on domestic fuel despite the Conservatives' crushing defeat in the Christchurch by-election. Speaking in his constituency, Mr Major said he wouldn't be deflected from difficult decisions which lie ahead. The Liberal Democrats won more than 62% of the vote, the Conservatives 31%, giving the Liberal Democrats a majority of more than 16,000 votes. The Labour candidate, who polled less than 3%, lost his deposit. The swing to the Liberal Democrats from the Conservatives was 35.5%, the largest against a governing party since records began. There was a high turnout, more than 80%.
Liberal Democrats exulted in Diana Maddock's victory, which they see as the harbinger of further successes to come in next year's European Parliament elections. Ministers were swift to point out that all 7 seats lost in the last Parliament were regained at the general election, and to predict that Christchurch would go the same way. But while they'd expected a defeat, they hadn't anticipated the rout it became, the Tories' worst by-election reversal since the war. The victor, who's reduced the government's majority to 17, had no doubt what it meant for the Prime Minister.
Change your policies or change your job.
In his constituency, Mr Major swiftly insisted he wouldn't be blown off course.
We've been through a difficult period. There have been difficult decisions that have had to be taken. Some difficult decisions lie ahead. I'm not going to be deflected from those difficult decisions.
But what about the policy seen as responsible above all else for the Tories' latest by-election defeat?
No, I'm not going to reconsider policy on VAT on fuel. We've made it clear that we will help vulnerable people. But there are going to have to be difficult decisions to get the public finances back in order. We're determined to take those difficult decisions.
At a later constituency engagement, Mr Major was keeping buoyant. But his involvement with the controversial policy is a direct one. The BBC has learned tonight that the Prime Minister was originally given a choice by Norman Lamont, the former Chancellor, between extending VAT to domestic fuel and imposing it on books and newspapers, transport and children's clothes. After the party's drubbing at Christchurch, rebels are already intensifying their protests.
If he pretends that this is not happening, if he pretends that the people of this country aren't thoroughly incensed both about him personally and policies of this government, then of course, he's heading for the rocks.
The VAT policy and its revision or even extension is one of the key issues facing the new Chancellor, who today concluded his first budget session with the Treasury team at Dorneywood. The opposition insisted changes were necessary.
If Mr Major really believes that he can dismiss this cry of rage from Christchurch on behalf of the people of Britain with such complacency, and I'm bound to say such contempt, then I think he's got more defeats like this coming.
As Labour smarted from another lost deposit, spokesman noted the possibilities of tactical voting.
Well, we never had a hope in hell in